I just watched the season finale of season 2 of Severance. And oh my goodness, I haven't been covering this show all along the way, but I felt like I just had to record my thoughts about this because here we are, like it's happening right now, and if I don't share my thoughts right now, I'll never be able to go back and relive that moment. I'll never be able to go back and try to remember what I was thinking. This is the moment, and I just wanted to jump in and put my thoughts out there um, for posterity. I mean, look, I'm asking myself, am I currently watching my favorite show ever? And that's a big thing to say. There's a lot of shows out there. There's a lot of shows I really love out there. There's shows I've podcasted about that I really love. And it's hard to know when you're 2 seasons into a show. You don't know how long it's going to go. You don't know what direction it's going to take. All of that is in the air. It's a mystery, right? But in terms of the experience that I've been having right now, I don't know that I have ever actually had the experience of coming to a show that I love right when it started and not missing an episode along the way in real time as it was airing. There's certainly shows that I love that I've come to after the fact, or that I started and then maybe life happened and I sort of got out of sync for a while and came back to. But this is the first time that I've been able to just like get excited about the next episode of a thing without just automatically going to the next episode and binging it. And I don't know, this has been a really wonderful experience. I feel like Severance was a show created for me. It's so weird in exactly the weird way I love weird. I'm on board with all of the weirdness, every last bit of it, because it's got this really specific tone and it is so precise. And I don't know what I'm going to spoil here, but let's just assume I'm going to spoil the first 2 seasons. So if you don't want that, if you don't want me to spoil everything up to this point for you, don't watch this. Go watch the show, come back, and then watch this. I love how weird it is, and in such a precise way. Everything is so specific and so thought out. And it's also like a reward for everybody who ever studied for the SATs. Congrats to you. You get to watch Severance and basically understand what's happening. You get to understand everything Milchick says. You wouldn't complain about his vocabulary. You would understand it. One of the things that I really enjoy about shows is I often watch like movement. And from the beginning of this show, when we see the overhead shot of Helly waking up on the conference table, I remember watching that the first time and thinking, she must be a dancer, because the way she moves, there's so much fluidity. It was so beautiful. It looked like performance art. And then there's something about that that's actually carried through the seasons. Like we had like a dance from, are they the Four Tempers at one point? And then, of course, Defiant Jazz. I have to give a shout out. I have his name in front of me, but Tremel Tillman, he's a dancer as far as I'm concerned. Between Defiant Jazz and what we just saw in this season finale, he really like understands movement, and it's gorgeous. I love the color palette of this show. I love the tone of the show. I love that it's so cold and yet so warm at the same time. I love that it's so awkward and yet so familiar. It's like all of the opposite things. I love how bananas it is. I mean, my goodness. I thought, I thought the show The Americans was like the most complicated relationships I would ever see in my life on TV. But this show is really giving it a run for its money. I mean, Mark's innie and outie are basically like in full-on negotiations and like trying to outsmart each other. Helly's outie is cheating on her innie. Dylan's innie is cheating on his outie. What is happening? Like, it's the most interesting representation of how we are so often at war with parts of ourselves. Like sometimes you don't even need somebody else to be in the mix because you're at war with a part of yourself. And this actually puts a physical representation to that. It is just wild. I don't know where this show is going, but I'm on board for every bit of it. Every time they show me something new, I love the mystery of it. I love the strangeness of it. It is just so interesting. It's been a minute since there was a show that really made me wonder what was going on the way that this one does. And, I think about a show like maybe Lost, which had that quality for me. And then it veered off in a direction that I was okay with, but wasn't the direction that I initially loved about it. And I'm curious to see if this one continues to hold true. But something that this show really embraces is that, well, I guess, would you call this science fiction? Is this science fiction? Because a lot of times I don't really get invested in science fiction, but this feels like it's meant to be a bit that genre. But it's so deeply about the characters and the relationships and the relationship to self and the relationship to each other and the nuance of what that looks like in different environments. And so it overcomes any genre to me and is just a story about these people and these characters. And as much as the setting itself, especially when they're in the office on the severed floor, as much as the set seems simple, it seems very precise. There's not a lot of bells and whistles in terms of like set deck, except for just the blandness of the office. And then over the top of that, they lay on like the really interesting lighting, the most beautiful camera choices. My goodness, this season finale, just like the camera work, the choices to sort of muffle people's voices or get up close, or how they're showing you when people are transitioning between innie and outie, the almost love story way of depicting Mark's conversation with himself. I'm constantly watching this show amazed at the brilliance and the innovation and just like how weird it is. I don't know how much more I can say this really, but maybe at some point, it's been my policy to only podcast about shows that are done, because I like to know that I like the full show before I get into it, and B, not have long gaps of time without podcast material. But I felt so very compelled to be effusive with my praise for this show at this point. And at some point, I may end up doing a podcast about this. We'll see. I mean, all of those things that I just said are true. That's the kind of thing that I like to podcast about, stuff that I know is already done. And we tend to get long waits between seasons for a show like this, and with a lot of shows right now. I hope it won't be so long for the next season, but I know it'll be worth it. I trust that we're in good hands, that we're in good hands, and that the people who are telling this story are going to tell us a very interesting story that we've never seen before. The setup for this is a story we've never seen before, so inevitably it has to be that. The acting is incredible, and the main titles, whoever you are, that I was looking on IMDb to try to figure out who does the art behind the main titles. There are a few names that came up for me. Whoever you are, you're amazing. The way you capture, again, movement, the way you capture what looks like the embodiment of Adam Scott in these unusual, twisted, artistic depictions and situations. Wow, is it beautiful. I mean, it's not only main titles that you shouldn't ever miss, it's main titles that you should really inspect. Everything about this show is just brilliant. The whole season, I've been telling people, are you watching Severance? And oh my goodness, I wanted to tell more people. So I don't know. This has been a really exciting ride. I feel really lucky to be on this journey in real time. and getting to be excited about whatever comes next. I am just so inspired by how strange and bold the choices are that this show makes. And I fully get that that may not be for everybody because it is so specifically for me that how could it be for everybody? But I am also really excited to see how much love there seems to be about this show. So I am stoked. Congratulations to everybody who is a part of Severance, because what you are creating and what you're putting into the world is unique and wonderful and weird and special and inspiring. You're all firing on all cylinders as far as I'm concerned. Every department, everybody, you're doing amazing. So thank you for adding this show to the world. And to other Severance fans out there, hello. I hope you're enjoying the show as much as I am, and can't wait for whatever's coming for season 3. Bye, everyone.